Hello YouTube, I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about the bot lane. If you don't know what a bot lane is, and you're just new to the game, the bot lane is placed in the downer half of the map, or on the map of Summoner's Rift, and it's the lane where you normally have your AD carry plays with a support. But there are three different types of bot lanes, and these are the interesting ones I'm trying to tell you about right now. We got for ones the burst lane, the sustain lane, and the poke lane. They all counter each other in a triangle. I'm gonna come back to that later. Right now, I'm just going to be telling you what defines each lane. So a burst lane would be a lane that is trying to, damage or pull out a lot of damage in a short amount of time. An example for that would be like Leona Grace having a high damage output in a really short time. Then we come to the sustain lane. The sustain lane is trying to out-sustain the enemy lane duo, which means that they are just trying to, out-sustain them, just regularly out-sustaining them. And possibility for that would be Sivir and Soraka, while Soraka being able to give back HP, and Sivir being possibly able to give herself mana back with her E when she's able to dodge an ability. And then we got the poke lane, which would be, as example, maybe Ezreal and Lulu. Ezreal being able to poke with QW, Lulu being able to poke with Q or E and Q in combination. All of these lanes are kinda defined through their support, because there's a possibility that like Ezreal can be a burst lane too when Ezreal is not placed with Lulu in the bot lane, but with Leona they become a burst lane, pretty heavy burst lane. And Ezreal put together with Ezreal is a bad example, because Ezreal is only is only able to make a poke or a burst lane. So like Kog'Maw could make a good poke or sustain lane, but difference is Soraka would make it more sustain lane, because Kog'Maw poking alone is not that brutal before level 6. But a lane with Lulu Kog'Maw would make the poke lane, because Lulu's been able to once make the poke of Kog'Maw stronger or poke yourself. So that is a thing. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they counter each other in a triangle. So what I mean with that is that the burst lane counters the sustain lane counters the poke lane, and the poke lane counters the burst lane. Now, why is that so? So the burst lane counters the sustain lane for one reason. That reason would be that a burst lane is not trying to poke or anything, but it's just going all in and making the sustain lane useless, because you cannot sustain, but because you get rather just bursted in one shot. Then we come to the counter of the poke lane, which would be sustain lane, because the poke lane normally is not is not as sustainable as the poke lane, which is obvious, because then it would be called sustain lane or poke lane. But the poke lane is trying to poke down the enemies and make them rather lose the lane due to them being not able to gain XP and the AD carry being unable to farm, or just because, or just in the case that they poke them so low that when the jungler comes it's just like instant kills and they can just tower it out or something like that. But the sustain lane makes that impossible, because the sustain lane gives amounts of HP back, so they don't care. If they get poked, they just heal it back up. And then we come to the last counter, that is the poke lane counters the burst lane. So the burst lane normally can also counter poke lane, because a good played burst lane is probably the best way to counter or to win a lane, and it's pretty much impossible to lose at all with that. or not at all, but if you're playing a really good burst lane, you're probably gonna beat a poke and a sustain lane. But just theoretically, the poke lane is countering the burst lane, because when the burst lane goes all in but is already poked down to a minimum of HP, it's impossible for them to gain anything out of it. Because when the burst lane cannot go all in or just go all in and die, then they're most likely gonna die pretty rapidly. So yeah, that will actually be everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, kind of learned something today, and we'll see you in the next video. See ya!